Hey everybody, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Today I'm going to go over something a little bit different. Today I'm going to talk about being a worship drummer. A little bit of context. I've played drums for over 50 years, and for the past 12 years I've served at our church as a worship drummer. This is what works for me. So just kind of take this at face value as something that I do. So, first and foremost, if you're thinking about being a worship team member, jump in, go ahead and do it. But the key thing to remember, especially as a drummer, is it's not about you. It's not about your drumming skills. It really is about what you bring to the service as part of the team that really elevates the entire service. A good worship drummer can really excite the music. And, I think of the drums as the coloring instrument, if you will. They provide the texture, they provide the drive. So, dynamics are really important. How you mix the way you play, meaning between your limbs, is really important. Your overall sound is really important. But the most important thing is your heart and your soul. You're there to lift the service and bring people into worship. Now, all of that said, it's a boatload of fun. Of all of the music that I've played throughout my life, being a worship drummer is, to me, by far the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done as a musician. One thing to note is, I am a big gearhead. I'm sitting in an electronic kit in worship today. So I serve at a multi-campus church, and I play acoustic. I play acoustic drums. Sometimes I play a stripped-down cajon kit, cajon, snare, one ride crash, hat, shaker, etc. And sometimes I play a stripped down kit where it's really like a snare, kick, one cymbal. For the most part, I'm playing a 4-piece kit, and the 4-piece kit could be acoustic, meaning no microphones, or, in our largest sanctuary, which seats about 1,200 people, that kit is in a full enclosure with all microphones, overheads, in-ear system, etc. So the way over the last 12 years, I've served in anything from very small, 25, 50 people, acoustic settings, all the way to the largest sanctuary, auditorium, even a stadium we did once. It's not about that. It's about each individual experience. Each individual week is an experience by itself. I think one of the key things to me that really has helped me is I have an extremely wide taste in music styles. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I grew up with pop, rock, R&B, soul. From there, I went into classic rock. From there, I went into progressive. From there, I went into jazz and fusion and world, reggae, world music, classical, alternative, 90s grunge, metal, alternative, heavy metal, jazz, you name it. That's what my music collection looks like today. So that's me. Let's talk about you. As I said, the most important thing is your heart, your attitude. You don't need an extensive background like I have. You just need to have the desire to be able to do a great job. That's it. You do need to have a really good heart. You need to have a good attitude. You need to understand it's not about you. And you definitely need to have good tempo, good timing. And you need to have dynamics. You need to understand how to, in a verse, bring it down. Or when the worship leader says, this is a reflective moment, how to be able to pull out mallets and do a cymbal swell, or play low, lightly on the toms, or maybe a light snare passage. And then as the song builds, you are the engine. You are the quarterback. You're responsible for those wide dynamic ranges that so much worship music actually has. You don't want, like, when you have a conversation, it's not like blah 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 blah. You have different variations in how you speak. That's exactly how you should think about your drumming. You should that's exactly how you should think about playing at a worship team. You know, you've got parts of the song you've got to let breathe. You should also have, as I said, really good timing and tempo. The band depends on you as the drummer. You've got to hold it together. Which leads me to another point. You need to be really comfortable with being able to play to a click or to tracks. I am very, very comfortable using a click or using a track. And I have no problem with that because when I rehearse to music. So in essence, I'm rehearsing to the click. And you know, that's just the way I record and the way I rehearse. I'm used to playing with either a music track or a loop or something that's, you know, holding me down. So I understand how to be on the click and before the click and after the click. So having really good tempo and time is really critically important because you don't want to be, you know, rushing the song. You don't want to be dragging the song. It's got to be just right. So it's all about that. The other thing to think about is you need to play to the room. You know, so many times worship drummers are, you know, I want the big cymbals and I want to be able to really pound them and it's really fun to hit the drums, and it is. And many times when I'm playing, I'm not holding back. I'll be walloping the crap out of that kit, whether it's an electronic kit or whether it's an acoustic kit. I'll hit those things as hard as I need to hit it when I need to do so. You need to be able to understand the room. So if I'm playing in a smaller room and there's 75 people there, I'm probably going to play with some type of rod or cross stick on the snare. I'm probably going to mute the drums a little bit. I'm going to choose darker cymbals. I'm going to alter the way the kit sounds and the way I approach it to that room. Conversely, if I am in a large room, full microphones, etc., I'm still going to play with a lot of dynamics, but when the song gets big, I'm going for it. I'm going to be smashing and hitting them as hard as need be. Again, you know, you don't want to kill the drum and, you know, drive it into the ground. You're playing music. You're not trying to kill the drum set. Some of the must-haves that I think are really important. To me, preparation is everything. I pride myself on really, truly understanding and knowing the music long before I get together with the team. So what typically happens is we use Planning Center online, and it's a tool that the worship leader sends out the songs for that week. And oftentimes we get them a few days in advance, and that's a typical, you know, you have a few days or so to work on them. What I do immediately is those 4 or 5 songs that we're going to be playing. Right now, I've accumulated well over 500 songs that I've played, so many of them I know, but there's always new songs. Almost every single week, I have to learn at least 1, 2, or 3 new songs. What I do is I download the studio recording, I download a live recording. I'll often go to YouTube and watch a drum tutorial on exactly how the original drummer, plays that song, and I'll look at other drummers' interpretation of that song so I understand, okay, here's how the song goes. I don't read music per se, but I do chart out in the way that I can understand. I chart out the song. So I understand intro 2 times, verse 1, down, chorus, pre-chorus. I know how the song map goes, and I understand the key, you know, parts of the drumming that I need to understand. But long before I get to that service, that song is in my head. I know that song inside and out. And I think it's my job as a drummer to be able to understand that music and to be able to know it thoroughly. So when we're getting together, I'm listening. I'm listening to not only how I'm playing, but how the band and how the singers are playing, and making sure that, hey, is this the way it goes, etc. So the worship leader is the worship leader. They're the person that sets the tone for how everything goes. Oftentimes, the worship leaders call to me because they know my experience, and they'll let me count off the tune because I'm very comfortable with that. And then once, you know, the tune goes, that's it. I'm in control. I'm the quarterback. So the worship leader and I are in constant looking at each other to make sure, you know, that I am doing what they want to do, lift it up, bring it down, etc. And it's really important to arrive early. So I am a gearhead. I want to make sure I show up in plenty of time. I'm usually one of the first people there to arrive, along with the techs and the worship leader. We're usually the first people there. And first thing I do is make sure the kit is set up the way I want it set up. Now, if I'm a visiting drummer in another campus, I always take note of how that drummer has it set up. Seat height, where their hat is, drums are positioned, etc. And if I move the kit to play the way that I want to play, then before I leave that day, I try to put it back exactly as I left it. I just think that's common courtesy. But I get in there early. I make sure that the drums are tuned up. I tune up the snare the way I want to hear it. I check the tuning on the toms and the kick. I check the heads. I make sure that the stands are everything is bolted down where it's not going to fly off during the middle of service. So I check the kit and I listen to the sound, and I'll add muting or remove muting from the drums depending upon the songs we're doing. And I have the gear that's there. To me, I always bring a whole array of different drum mufflers that I use, so I can kind of change the way the drums sound. And I also know each one of our campuses well. Some of them have really good equipment, and I'll use their cymbals. And some of them, I don't like the cymbals that are there, so I bring my own. So that way I know I have my sound and I'm ready to go in that room, in that environment. I also check to make sure, if I'm playing in the larger sanctuaries with in-ear, that I check the monitor system, and I check to make sure as we're going through rehearsal, am I hearing everything the way I want to hear it? That to me is really important, so I'm playing comfortably and I'm making sure that I'm following what's going on. To me, I think it's always important. I want to hear the room sound, so I always ask the techs to pump the room sound back into the in-ear system, because I want to hear the way the band sounds in the room with the singer, so I can be mixing on the fly, self-mixing the way I'm playing, and I want to make sure that the band is sounding good. That to me is really important. I mentioned techs. The techs are your best friends. They truly are. These are people that are either paid or they're volunteers, but you want to make sure that you go in there with total respect for the techs and what they do. They've got a lot on their plate. So I try to make their job as simple as possible, meaning I try to get the kit sounding as good as possible. When I play, I'm very aware of, am I hitting the hat at the right velocity, and the snare and kick really, front and center. When it's a tom-driven beat, are the toms appropriate in terms of how I play? So I'm really aware of that, and that makes the tech's job easier. They don't have to mix me smashing away at a cymbal. So I can be riding on a cymbal, but I don't have to be smashing it. I can clearly take a ride and just lay into it like that, and that's going to get that big washy sound, and I'm not, clubbing it to death. One of the key things to think about is enjoy the experience. Yeah, you're probably going to be nervous going up there. I was my first time or so. I don't really get nervous. If I'm prepared, then I'm not nervous at all. I'm excited. There's a big difference, but I'm not nervous. I have that excited energy that I'm going up there. But even that, I'm trying to breathe, especially if it's a large service and there's a lot of people and it's a big event, etc., multimedia screens going on, etc. I'm still going to take a breath, and I hear that song in my head prior to counting it off. So when I'm sticking it off, I know exactly where that song's going to sit, and then when you're in the experience, my whole point is be in the moment, be part of the service. What I typically try to do is, you don't know when people come to service, you don't know what baggage they're bringing in. Maybe they're hurting. Maybe something's going on in their life, So, if you see somebody out there and their arms are crossed and they look like they hate the song you're playing, you don't have to sit there and try to analyze, oh, they hate my drumming. Maybe most likely there's something going on personally in their life. What I tend to do is I look for the people that are captivated by the music, that are moved by the music, whether they're in the moment or they're swaying. I can see it. We play a song and you get into that groove, you can see the crowd start to move. I feed off of that. I love that because you're doing that. You're getting these people into that groove, into that motion. You're bringing the worship into the room, and there's a real spirit that is taking over. That's what a worship leader, that's what a worship drummer is really doing.